note down the point and consider ourselves very fortunate, because most of the times we do not realize how blessed we are and how fortunate we are. And today I feel very blessed because I got the opportunity for the life and how to surrender and how to take advantage because external reasons is Krishna wanted to establish legal dharma of chanting the holy names, and therefore Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took the role of a devotee and showed all of us how to chant Krishna and how to perform loving devotional service to Lord Krishna. So that is the magnanimity of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that he gave Harinam to all of us, the munificent. So let's hold on this level M with all of us. Magnanimous and munificence of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, whereby he has given this beautiful Harinam to all of us so that we can go back to God. The next pastime, so we all are good with holding on to letter M, correct? The next pastime is about Keshav Kashmir. So he is a Pandit, an erudite scholar who's from Kashmir, erudite scholar in Sanskrit. Along with his scholarship, he also was proud. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita chapter 13, what are knowledge items and what is the goal of knowledge? He says, if knowledge makes us proud, if knowledge does not help us be humble, if knowledge does not teach us what non-violence is, and he goes on listing about 20 elements. Amanitvam, adambitvam, ahimsa, kshanti, archanam, acharya, pasnam, aucham, staityam, atma vinigraha. So he lists about 20 elements in which he says amanitvam, humility, pridelessness, steadfastness, cleanliness. If all these qualities are not developed by taking on to knowledge, then that is not true knowledge. So when Keshav Kashmiri, who was very erudite scholar, when he was proud of his knowledge and he comes to Bengal to check on this young scholar who already had many students, who Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who had many students. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, being God himself, was scholarly not only in Sanskrit but in all subjects. So he had gathered many students and started giving them the instructions on devotional service and on chanting Hare Krishna, and he had gathered so many devotees. So one day, Keshav Kashmir, when he came to Bengal, he wanted to challenge Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he meets him on the bank of Ganga on a full moon night. And then he asks, hey, you look so young, but it looks like you have many students. Are you a scholar? I want to see your scholarly knowledge. But then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in a humble mood says, I'm not as scholarly as you are. Can you please compose some verses on Mother Ganga? So, Keshav Pandit, he composes about 100 verses instantly in Sanskrit on Mother Ganga. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, can you explain and also can you show it is 5 ornaments and 5 flaws in your composition? So Keshav Kashmiri gets hurt. He thinks, how can my composition have faults? I don't have any faults in my composition. What do you think? My composition is perfect. But then after further back and forth discussion, when Keshav Kashmir tells Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to show any flaws, then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu humbly picks only one verse and very beautifully, there are several verses, the discussion goes on between Keshav Kashmir and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, very beautifully points out the beautiful ornaments of his compositions, at the same time also suggests few corrections. Keshav Kashmir is very shocked and amazed and confused and baffled after hearing to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's commentary or comments on his composition. Thought, this young man, how is he able to find such intricate details in my composition? Then he sees, he was proud that he was Saraswati Putra, that he was the child of Goddess Saraswati, because he was proud that he was scholarly. However, when he realizes and when he is pointed by his mistakes, he at once does not accept. But then that night in his dream, Mother Saraswati tells him to go and surrender to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he goes the next day asking for forgiveness and surrenders to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, realizing that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the supreme personality of Godhead. So what does this pastime do? It enlightens Desha Kashmir. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes are enlightening. Just like they're munificent and magnanimous, they're also enlightening. So let's hold on to the word E now. Right? And for the previous pastime, E for this pastime. There's another pastime which teaches how devotees have to conduct amongst themselves. Can you all guess which pastime that is? That is the pastime of Gopala Chapala. How many of you all know the pastime of Gopala Chapala? The two Mataji's here. I will briefly narrate this pastime. Srivas Angan was the place for of late. There is this new trend called bhajan clubbing. How many of you all have heard of bhajan clubbing? What happens in bhajan clubbing? Youth meet and they sing bhajans and in different tunes, with high beats, and go into that ecstatic mode. But it is not something new. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu started this at that time, 540 years ago. It was called nocturnal Sankirtana. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, with all the devotees who were inspired by him, used to do nocturnal Sankirtana in the courtyard of Srivas Angan. So every night they would get together and do this beautiful nocturnal Sankirtan. And obviously there were envious and jealous people, other brahmanas who were Mayavadis and who did not like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's approach and path of devotional service. So what did they do? In order to insult Srivas, what did they do? They put some paraphernalia which is related to Khavari's church, including some wine container, in front of Srivas Angan, the door of Srivas Angan. So next day when they opened the door and saw all this paraphernalia, of course Srivas, being a true devotee, was not humiliated or insulted, and he gently got it cleaned. But the consequence of doing this to Gopala Chapala was he developed leprosy in 3 days. So there is a nice purport that Prabhupada gives here about how we should not be envious of devotees and what is the result of being envious of devotees. I won't read out that purport which is self-explanatory of me putting words into it. So Prabhupada says, we should note herein that all our sufferings in this material world, especially from disease, are due to our past sinful activities. And of all sinful activities, actions directed against a pure devotee out of sheer envy are considered extremely sinful. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted Gopala Chapala to understand the cause of his suffering. This is purport to a verse in which Gopala Chapala goes and asks Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to forgive him and remove his distresses. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, no, I cannot forgive you because you insulted my and were envious of my dear devotee, Srivas. So here he is saying, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted Gopala Chapala to understand the cause of his suffering. Any person who disturbs a pure devotee engaged in broadcasting the holy name of Lord is certainly punished like Gopala Chapala. This is instruction of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. As we shall see, one who offends a pure devotee can never satisfy Chaitanya Mahaprabhu unless and until he sincerely regrets his offense and thus rectifies it. So this is all self-explanatory. Correct? So for us to please Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we have to be very careful that we don't offend any devotees. Then how do we get the intelligence of whom we are offending? Sometimes we are offending even without knowing. Yes or no? At least after hearing this, we want to be careful, and we might carefully, knowingly not offend, but unknowingly also be offended. Correct? So for us to be safe, to stay safe, the first thing is, of course, we have to be very careful. Second, we have to ask Krishna for guidance. In Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10, again Krishna says, Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam tirupurvakam dadham buddhi yogamtam yenama upayanti te. So he says, to those who chant my names with love and devotion, dadhami buddhi, dadhami meaning I will give them buddhi, meaning What type of intelligence does Krishna give? Not intelligence where we can get the best academics, not the best college, not the best jobs, right? Not the best material positions or positions, but that intelligence is to Krishna. So for us to be safe from not being able to commit offenses, knowingly or unknowingly, we always have to take shelter of Krishna and take the shelter of Harinam, which again Chaitanya Mahaprabhu only gave us beneficiently and negligently. So this is another pastime which opens the eyes of Gopala Chakala. So he is also enlightened. Again E here. So we have M and E. Then we go to the pastime of Ramanandra. How many of us know Ramanandra? So his pastime is where Ramanandra was actually the governor of Madras. Very high position. But he was very humble. A very, very, very great devotee of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Krishna. He was very humble. He had heard about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu from Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya also told Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to meet Ramanand Rai whenever possible in the South India, tour that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had made after becoming a sannyasi. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu walked through the entire South India, he reached a place called Vidyananda on the banks of Godavari. He was resting there. And then he sees a huge procession in a palanquin. A person comes out. He is Ramanand Rai. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu knew him, and he was also eager to meet him. Just as a devotee is eager to meet the Lord is even more eager to meet the devotee. So, finally Ramanand Rai and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu meet each other. They embrace. Ramanand Rai was born into a very low family. According to Varna, he was not in the highest Varna, but he was in a low Varna. And therefore, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was a sannyasi, was embracing Ramanand Rai, every other Ramana was surprised, thinking, how is that a sannyasi is embracing a lowly born person? But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was beyond the physical position or physical barriers that we all, or that the Brahmins had at that time. He was always living with pure devotion in the heart of the person, and not by what Varna or Ashrama that person was in. So in that conversations between Ramanand Rai and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu drew from Ramanand Rai what is the ultimate perfect path of bhakti. Of course, Ramanand Rai starts talking about the Pandya principles and Vedas, then he talks about Nishkama Karma, then Sagama Karma, then he goes to Varnashrama, then finally he goes to devotional service, and when talking about bhakti, he starts talking about the bhakti of Raya Varshavasis, and then he starts talking about the bhakti of Radharani and the gopis towards Krishna. At that point, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu loses his control and becomes ecstatic. And then when he hears from Ramanand Rai the truth about what real perfect path for devotional service is, he reveals to Ramanand Rai that he is Radha and Krishna appearing as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Ramanand Rai was so fortunate that he saw Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but Radha and Krishna also. That Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is none other than the combination of Radha and Krishna. So he helps in realizing pure devotees realizing Lord and also reciprocating with the love of pure devotees. So now, this pastime is for realizing and reciprocation. So we are going to take another letter R. So we are now having how many letters? M-E-R. Now we move to the next pastime, which is very popular, which we already talked about probably 3-4 weeks ago, which is the Jagai Malai pastime. In that pastime, what does Lord Nityananda Prabhu do? He goes in a very compassionate mood to every person again, not considering their positions or positions, just because he wanted to give Krishna Prema to everyone. And Chaitanya and I, though born into Brahminical family, were the most fallen because of their habits, because of the choices they made. The consciousness was completely polluted. They were completely drunk when Nityananda Prabhu had approached Krishna Ram. In that state of being drunk, when Chaitanya heard Nityananda Prabhu, Chaitanya gets very angry. And he goes with such an anger and wanted to release Vishnu Chaitra to destroy them. However, upon Nityananda Prabhu's begging, asking them to forgive them, because Nityananda Prabhu's philosophy was the most fallen you are, the most mercy you need. He told Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we have to be more merciful on these two souls. And upon hearing this conversation between Nityananda and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the two, Jagai and Madai, were fallen, though in drunken state, they got to their senses. They became realized because of the compassion of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda. And from then on, the path chosen by Jagai and Madai was that of pure devotional service and completely transformed their lives because of the intervention of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda. That is the compassion pastime where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu elevated the most fallen soul with its topmost yourself. So now we take the letter C. What do we have? M for magnanimous, munificence. E for enlightening pastimes. R for reciprocative and realizing pastimes. C for compassionate pastimes. And now we come to another pastime of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu during Rath Yatra in Jagannath. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the last 16 years of his life, he spends in Jagannath. And every year there will be celebration of Rath Yatra. And during Rath Yatra, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will be completely ecstatic. In Jagannath Puri, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mood was that of Radharani. Though Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is a combination of Krishna and Radha, he would predominantly be in different aspects based on the surrounded devotees and situations. So in Jagannath Puri, his mood was predominantly Radharani's mood. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw Jagannath on Rath Yatra, and Jagannath, in the mood of Krishna, was seeing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as Radharani. So there was this loving exchange happening between the two of them, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu literally going to ecstasy, dancing, fainting, and again rising up and again dancing, because he was experiencing the love of Krishna. In this process, sometimes Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would go behind the Jagannath Ratha to see if Krishna or Jagannath would listen him. And the way Jagannath would look for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was how? Do you know? When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would go behind the cart during Rath Yatra dancing, he wanted to know if Krishna is looking for him. Krishna is Jagannath Adhika, and he wanted to know if Krishna is really looking for him. And then Krishna was really looking. Then how did Krishna show that he was looking for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? The cart would stop. Moving cart would stop when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would go behind the cart and not in the vicinity of the sight of Jagannath. So Jagannath would stop the cart. He would not move it because he's not seeing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Where is he? And then when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes forward again, the cart would move. So people were like amazed looking at this Leela. And they understood that is the reciprocation of Krishna and Radharani in the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Jagannath. So this is the yearning of love that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed how one should yearn for love for Krishna. And another reason of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taking sannyasa is told that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was about to take sannyasa, many of his friends suggested to him that if you take sannyasa, your mother will not be able to live because she's now a widow and she's living with your young wife who's just 15 or 16 years old, Vishnupriya. If you also leave her and go take sannyasa, then how will she survive? She's definitely going to leave her body. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had a higher goal and higher mission. Because he saw that the localite people whom he met were not respecting his scholarliness or his devotion and not taking on his path, he felt that if he takes sannyasa, people will start respecting him and start following his instructions. So with that intention, he kept his dharma of preaching to the people higher than the family. Yes, thank you. And to quote this Acharyas, they give the example of how Ramachandra went to forest because his dharma was to obey his father's instructions. And how Krishna also, as soon as he is born, He left his parents and went to forest, Vrindavan forest. Again, why? Because his parents had given a word to his maternal uncle that as soon as the child is born, he will be killed, but then they had to move away from there not to be killed. So, similarly, even in Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the Leelas that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu performed, he took up sannyasa for a higher mission. And that higher mission was to encourage people to yearn for Krishna. And that is the letter from the pastor that we picked is why. Now we have the complete word. What is it? Mercy. So the topic started with gifts of Lord Chaitanya, which actually are not just gifts. Gifts are external additions to all of it. They are more like sense gratificatory things. But what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave is not gifts, he gave us mercy. What does mercy do? Mercy actually eliminates the unwanted things in us. It eliminates the anarthas. It eliminates our illusion. It eliminates our attachments and gives right perspective of things. So, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy actually helps us let go of those unnecessary things, as opposed to just mere gifts, which are probably additions, which just give us material satisfaction. So, mercy is much more higher than simple gift. So, though the topic says gifts of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in reality, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is merciful. How merciful is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Can we measure the mercy? We can measure the depth of an ocean, correct? Yeah, we can say Pacific Ocean is the deepest ocean. Probably scientists know the depth of the ocean. But the depth of the mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is immeasurable. And we are so unfortunate that we don't realize that we are having access to this mercy, but we are preventing ourselves from the mercy by this umbrella called the umbrella, which has the spokes of the anarthas. What are they? What are the anarthas that we have?
Kam, Krodha, Lobha, Moha.
Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. 6 anarthas are 6 spokes on our umbrella that we are holding on our head or on top of us, which is preventing us from taking the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. And of course, this mercy also helps us eliminate those anarthas. So the simplest step that we have to take is chant Hare Krishna Maha. And just as a sculptor, what does he do when he's trying to sculpt a deity? All that he does is picks a rock or a wooden piece and just eliminates all those areas that are not needed for the sculpture, for the deity to come out. So similarly, when we surrender onto Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and start this process of which we are all doing, but there are different levels of doing our sadhana, right? When we aspire to increase on a daily basis and become better in our sadhana, then we become those sculptors who are eliminating the unnecessary pieces of the wood or the rock, so that finally what is left is the actuality or the image that we wanted to make. So for us, when we are sculpting our heart, when we eliminate our anarthas, what is left over is our love for Krishna. So this is how the gifts of Lord Chaitanya are in reality mercy form coming to all of us. There are so many more pastimes that we can draw inspiration from and also get purified. I recently learned one point that we should not be listening to lectures for inspiration. We should not be looking at who the speaker is, what the topic is, and how long it is. Generally, we choose our video lectures or anything based on who the speaker is, how long is the topic, and what is the topic. That is probably for inspiration, but inspiration does not sustain us long on the path of bhakti. What sustains us longer on the path of bhakti is purification. So we should intentionally desire and take on to this knowledge for purification, which is when it will not matter for us who the speaker is, what the topic is, and how long it is. Because if we take the inspiration of Parikshit Maharaj, he had only 7 days and 7 nights. And he did not take any break. He was sitting in the posture which gives him attentive, rapt attention. That is the qualification that we all need for taking on this knowledge. So that's all I had for today's discussion. If it's okay with all of us, can we sing Sachi Sudastakam?
Yes, yes.
Thank you. So let's all open Sachi Sudastakam. Let's try to finish soon because we are almost at the time. You can find it in KK songs. Sachi Sudastakam to try. You all can repeat after me. I will do 2 lines. Nava gauravaram, nava pushpasharam, nava I will do 2 lines. Okay, is that okay? Nava gauravaram, nava pushpasharam, nava bhavaram, nava lasya param.
Nava
here? If anybody has any additions or realizations?
Translation, please.
Oh yes, translations. Let's read. You all can take turns and read. Anybody wants to read, please read. One of each of you can read one. Without losing time, please, because we're almost on top of 5:30. Yes.